Two devastating mass shootings recently rocked the capital of Minnesota. On Monday, two different mass shootings happened at a couple of homeless encampments in Minneapolis. At least 13 people were injured, 5 critically in these separate mass shootings. We don't have a suspect. We don't know who was involved, if they acted alone, whatever. Now, mass shootings, of course, in America are nothing to be surprised about these days. But again, instead of it happening at the usual places like a school or a movie theater, both of them happened at a homeless encampment, right? At different homeless encampments, about 10 or so hours apart. Police say that dozens of rounds were fired directly into the crowds of homeless people that have been congregating in these encampments, and added that they're investigating if the shootings are related, as they both used similar high-powered semi-automatic rifles, and because the suspect or suspects are still at large. Mayor Jacob Frey said at a press conference on Tuesday that this is, quote, tragic, horrible, unacceptable, and sadly, not surprising. I mean, I can agree with all of that. All of that. Now, as to a motive, again, without a suspect, without any sort of information about who did it, the whodunit, we can't figure out why yet. But I don't think it's a coincidence. And again, until I actually have some concrete information on this, I am going to speculate a little bit. Because this is about a week after Fox News host Brian Kilmeade said this on air.
That you got to be locked up in jail. That's the way it has to be now.
Or involuntary lethal injection or something. Just kill him.
Yeah, Brian, why did it have to get to this point?
Right.
Just kill him. That's what he said. Okay? That's what he said about homeless people. Just kill them. Involuntary lethal injection. Well, I mean, you could argue that this involuntary injection could be delivered at the point of a gun. But that would be maybe arguing semantics. But anyway, that's what he said, and then someone or someone's tried. To me, this doesn't feel like an accident, okay? And I say that because there is a documented relationship between the appearance of criminalization of the homeless through laws and rhetoric and the increase of hate crimes or violent acts against homeless people. And I think this is important to point out because we don't hear a lot about this. As far as I know, very, very few people are actually talking about this. Very few people even know that this had happened because everyone is concerned about, a right-wing podcaster that was gunned down by someone who was a suspected groiper, meme lord, whatever, edge lord, I don't know. But anyway, when you say that, homeless people don't matter and are not worthy of being able to live in our city, some people will say that, interpret that as, well, they just don't deserve to live then. And when you say things like, oh, they're inherently dangerous, they're all inherently criminal, they're all junkies, all that stuff that we have heard for decades about homeless people, that rhetoric that has been ramped up by people like President Donald Trump whenever he talks about homeless people. And I also will include Democrats like Gavin Newsom, who have been clearing out encampments. That just gives people the justification to do violent acts against homeless people. And you know what? We've been doing this for a while. In fact, from 2020 to 2022, there were about 97 incidences of anti-homeless violence in America. 47 of them were lethal. They were lethal. They killed people. People died. And in the past 23 years, there have been approximately 1,923 hate crimes reported. And this is just reported. The numbers are probably a lot higher, but you don't get a lot of homeless people that go to police, that report their crimes against them, right? 550 of the 8 of those, of the 1,923, those attacks have been lethal. 558 people were killed for just being homeless. And interestingly enough, since the year 1999, the majority of those victims, about 70% of them, happen to have been men over the age of 40. Homeless men are, basically, they receive or are, I guess people will perpetrate crimes against those people more often than other groups of people. Okay. And this is where, by the way, patriarchy actually hurts men. I mean, there's a lot of different examples of how patriarchy hurts men. This is one of them. And think about it this way, right? These are men that are cast out of society because perhaps they have issues like addiction. Perhaps they have mental illness or PTSD. Perhaps they're just unable, like a majority, to be able to get jobs that pay enough to be able to get them into homes. Not only that, but because of patriarchy, men are less likely to seek help for those particular issues because society teaches them that if you ask for help, that you are not a man, that you are weak. And you need to just man up, sack up, and go do it yourself, man. If you ask for help, you have failed as a man. That's what they'll say. And so what happens? These men end up living in the streets and tend to become victims of anti-homeless violence, which, by the way, is perpetrated usually by other men. And that is not to say that homeless women do not have it worse. Oh, they absolutely do. They face a lot of violence. In fact, the violence they face is more often sexual in nature, once again, perpetrated mainly by other men. Look, at the end of the day, though, being homeless is stacking injury on top of injury, all right? Not only do you not have safety, a place to rest, a place to sleep, to call your own, to store your belongings, which end up getting stolen oftentimes, but you are also blamed, you are also demonized, and even assaulted or even killed for just being homeless. Now, I have to remind you that being homeless is not a result of a personal failing. In fact, the two main causes of homelessness are just not having enough money from work, because there are a lot of homeless people who also work. You're not getting paid enough to be able to afford housing, and there is a lack of any affordable housing. And look, there are also so many different situations where the death of a spouse or a family member who was the primary breadwinner in the family, that ends up leading to homelessness. Because again, in this country right now, in this economy, you need at least 2 incomes to survive. Housing is just too expensive right now for people to afford. And so wages, they have not kept up. I mean, think about it this way. The minimum wage in this country has not changed since 2005. It is still $7.25 an hour. While costs have gone up, especially for housing. All right. And not only that, but you have private industry, you have Wall Street hedge funds that buy up all the single family homes as soon as they're built. This is not a supply problem. Homes are being built, but they're being scooped up by these hedge funds, by Blackstone or BlackRock, whatever. And then they rent out those homes at increasingly higher prices. All right. And so that drives up the cost of homes, for one, and also drives up the cost of rentals. And so this is what happens when you turn shelter into a commodity. All right. This is why we have a homelessness crisis, even though we have more than enough homes, more than enough shelter for everyone. We have created in this country, thanks to capital, an artificial scarcity crisis when it comes to homes. And instead of actually attacking that and going after the main reasons why more and more people are becoming homeless, okay, folks like Brian Kilmeade, Donald Trump, and yes, even Gavin Newsom consistently attack the homeless. A large part, by the way, of homeless people, veterans, and another part is LGBTQ plus people who were kicked out of their homes for their identity, for their gender identity or their sexual preferences. Okay. Yes, and those generally tend to be youths kicked out of their homes, made homeless. And so they also, by the way, experience a large amount of sexual violence. And so this is a problem that, by the way, both liberals and conservatives seem to agree should be dealt with over policing, destroying homeless encampments, and punishing the homeless, instead of actually going after the real causes, raising wages to a living wage, ensuring that shelter is a human right that everyone is entitled to, banning companies from owning large swaths of homes and commodifying them, enacting universal health care with an emphasis on mental health care, and ensuring that we all have programs in place to help combat drug addiction. Those are the things that we could do to solve this problem, because it is a problem we can solve. It is a problem we have created in this country. But we will not solve this as long as we as a society continue to see homelessness as nothing more than a personal failing instead of the systemic problem that it really is. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, subscribe, hit the bell icon in order to get notified whenever a new video is released. And if you want to support independent, progressive media through this difficult time where it seems like everybody is shutting down, you can become a member on our YouTube page, you can become a subscriber on Facebook, or you can go to my Patreon. It's patreon.com/Jeff Waldorf. Thank you.